Magic with sponges. A lot of magicians seem to think that all you could do is take a sponge ball, make it appear, make it disappear, and maybe make it fly into a spectator's hand. Actually, there's a tremendous variety of props, colors, sizes, shapes, things that you can do with sponges. Today, we're going to talk about the essentials. My name is Daryl. Welcome to the world of sponges. We're going to start at the very, very beginning. A very simple trick that you can do anytime, any place, using just 2 ordinary balls of sponge. Watch closely. This was created by Martin Gardner. It was marketed by the Ireland Magic Company, and it was introduced at the Society of American Magicians Convention in Chicago in 1940. It is known as passe-passe sponge. Very simple trick with 2 hands, 2 balls, nothing else. Watch closely as I count from 1 to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's all there is to it. Beautiful trick. This has been done with matches for a long time and other props, but with sponge, it's even more deceptive. Martin Gardner came up with the idea of this, the misdirection. If your hand covers one ball of sponge with the backs of the fingers, that's important. When you close your hand, that exposes the ball. That's the built-in misdirection. So make sure you cover it with your fingers, the backs of your fingers, so that when you close your hand, it's exposed. Do not make the mistake of covering it with the back of your hand. Then there's nothing to see when you close your hand. That is the misdirection. That's very important. Here's what you do. The false move is nothing more than holding the ball in your hand like this. You're sort of pinching it between your thumb and your first finger. You pretend to put it in your other hand, but you just don't let go. That's all you do. Put it there. Close your hand as if you have the ball in your left hand. Bring your right hand out, secretly pinching the ball. But here's the misdirection. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pick it up, it's pinched. 6, it goes right into the hand. 7, you close the hand and that exposes the ball underneath the fingers. That gives you the misdirection to pull your right hand out of your left hand, stealing the ball with it, and adding it to the ball on the table. That's all there is to it. 9 and 10. So we'll do that again. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Even when you know how it's done, it still looks good. The most important thing, like I said before, the backs of the fingers cover this. You pinch the ball here, you put it in your palm, just don't let go. Don't make a move out of it. Don't make a big thing. Just pinch it, put it in your palm, close your fingers. As soon as your fingers close, the right hand comes out, immediately picks up the ball on the table, adds the 2 together, and then you say 9 and 10. And there you have it. Passe-Passe Sponges by Martin Gardner. Why magic with sponge is special? Well, there are several reasons. First of all, sponge compresses. This is great for being a magician. It's very easy to hide. You can hold it flat in your hand, flat against the table. You can hold it flat against your arm like this if your arms are crossed. If you're sitting down, you can put it flat against your leg. Very, very easy to hide in your hand. Also, it expands, which means it's very visible. So you can be doing sponge ball tricks for quite a large audience, and that's a good thing as well. Also, it's easy to clip. It's soft. You can clip it any place with your thumb, front clip, back clip. We'll talk about this in detail a little bit later. But anywhere you want, you could just grab it, clip it, you've got it. The most important thing, though, is that the spectator does not know whether they're holding one ball in a tight fist or, say, for example, 2 balls posing as one in a tight fist. That means when they open their hand, they believe they have one. You made a second ball vanish, and now they've got 2 balls in their hands. That's a miracle. That is magic in the spectator's hands, and that's the strongest type of magic there is. Concealments. How do you hide or conceal a sponge ball in your hand? Well, there are several different methods. The basic method is probably the thumb palm. And what you do is you start with the ball between the index and middle finger like this. You curl those two fingers inward. You clip or nip a little piece of it with your thumb. So it's a thumb clip. Thumb palm, thumb clip. A couple things to keep in mind with the thumb palm, and that is keep your thumb exposed or in view. Do not get into the habit of thumb palming and then making your thumb disappear. That looks very bad. Also, both of your hands should look the same. So if one hand is like this and the other hand is like this, it looks bad. So both hands should look the same. That's a good thing to keep in mind. So you thumb palm a ball. You can have it here, you can have it here, hanging on the edge of the table. One of the nice things about the thumb clip is you've got a good grip on the ball, so you can even clap your hands together like this, and it's not going to fall, okay? Thumb clip. Next, we have the finger palm. There are two different types of finger palms. One is a very loose finger palm. We'll talk about that first. The most important thing about the finger palm is no windows. Make sure that your fingers are closed. Some people have little openings between their fingers. Those are called windows. That's not a good thing. If you have a ball concealed in your hand very loosely, this is the finger palm. That's all there is to it. Not a tight fist. Don't have one hand relaxed and loose and the other hand tight. Just a loose finger palm. This reminds me of an excellent illustration in a wonderful book by Futagawa. Allow me to show you. I love this illustration. When I first saw it, to me it looks like a man with two hooks. And then I read the fine print, and what it is saying is those are question marks. And the question you need to ask yourself is, what do your hands look like when they're at rest on the table? Well, that's how your hands should look when you're finger palming a coin or a ball or anything. Then there is the tight finger palm. Tight finger palm is similar, except you're actually holding the ball very tightly. So tightly you can't see it even when your hand is palmed to the audience. Nice thing about this is you've got your index finger and your thumb free to hold on to, say, another sponge ball or a chopstick or a magic wand or a coin, something like that. So it looks like your hand is otherwise empty except for the object you're holding between your thumb and first finger. If you're using a smaller ball, a nice thing about the tight finger palm is you can hide it with just the ring finger and middle finger like this, and then you could tap your middle finger and your thumb together. That almost looks like the hand is completely empty. This looks very good if you're going to do a production, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Another thing is having your hand flat on the table. Now, if you have a relatively small sized ball and your hand is flat on the table, a nice thing that you could do is you could move it forward. That causes the ball to roll to the back of the hand, to basically the heel of the hand. Then you can actually open up your palm towards the audience. I mean, it's not a very convincing thing, but if it's done just as a casual gesture, it looks like your hand is empty. You can roll your hands back. That puts the ball back into your hand, and that puts it in here. If you don't have a table, you could do the same type of thing with a small ball against your body, where you roll, your hand is apparently empty, you roll it back, and you've got it here. Another good thing about a small ball is that you can do the old three-shell game move. You can have it behind your fingers like this, pivot your hand palm upwards, and keep the ball concealed. So it looks like your hand is empty. You can steal it inside. You can bring it back behind the fingers. You can give a quick flash of your empty hand, and then steal it back into the hand like this. Clipping is a good thing. You can clip the ball with a front clip. The front clip is usually the middle two fingers, like the middle finger and the ring finger, clipping one little piece of the small ball. The bad thing about the clip is that the angles on the side are pretty bad. So you have to do this only when there's people in the front. So if the hand is flat like this, a good thing with it is you could pick up a ball from the table, place it in your hand, secretly adding the second ball to it like that. So that's pretty much the only reason I would use a front clip, is just to be able to pick a ball off the table and place it into the hand like that. The heel clip is an entirely different kind of clip. It's not a false transfer, which is a good thing. We'll talk about that later. But when you put a ball in your hand, you actually do put it in the hand you say you put it in. The hand actually closes around it. So far, everything's great. But secretly what you do is you work the ball to the heel of your hand. And the way that's done is you just open up your little fist, you push back with your fingertips until it's held just between the fingertips and the heel of the hand. Now, the audience doesn't know this. Your hand is back towards them. Okay? Then you could say something like, well, sometimes I do this. People think I take the ball and I sneak it up my sleeve. I'll pull up my sleeve so I couldn't possibly cheat. Just in doing that, you actually steal the ball into your other hand. Basically what that is the ball is in the hand, you work it to the heel clip, your hand is palm down, your right hand points to the back, and secretly underneath, your little finger clips the ball from the heel clip to this position. As you say, it's not going to go up the sleeve, you steal it out. Here are a few other concealments, that is to say concealments other than secretly hiding things in your hands. Hiding them in your pocket, that's probably the easiest way. Just have a ball in your pocket, you're ready to steal it out. Now you might say, well, how do I steal that ball secretly out of my pocket without getting caught? Well, don't try to do it quickly. Cover it with a reason. What I would do is I'd say, for this next mystery, I need a ball. I need a ball made out of sponge about this big. Does anybody have one? Well, I just stole it out of my pocket, so I'm all ready to, oh, here's one, I'll use this. All you do is you have it in your pocket, you pretend like you need something, you're looking for it, you don't know where it is, and you've secretly stolen it. So that's a way to steal out of your pocket. Another place you can hide a ball is under your lapel, especially if it's a small ball, like a 1 inch or maybe even a 1.5 inch. Under your coat lapel. Just put it there, fold this, that holds it in perfect condition, ready for action. To steal it out secretly, your hands are empty. You can roll up your sleeves. You could just sort of stand like this. That's a good thing. Secretly, your left hand just uses the thumb to pull it out and hide it in your hand. Now, you can actually make a gimmick, and I've done this just so that you can see. It's a safety pin with a little pin on it. What you could do is you open up the safety pin and you put it in your coat down at the bottom edge. It's not really necessary, but I saw this in a book and I said, well, let me try that. You could do this if you want to. Another thing that some people do is they just take a closed safety pin, just an ordinary safety pin. They open it up, they would pin it to the bottom edge of their coat, and they would close it. And then here is where they would wedge in a sponge ball like this. So now you have a secret sponge ball at the edge of your coat. Anytime you want, you just reach under there, clip it, and steal it out. The reason I don't do this is because I learned a thing from Al Cohen. This is a wonderful idea. It's using your coat itself as a holdout. You don't have to have any pins. You don't have to have any clips. All you do is this. You have the ball here, and you sneak it underneath your coat. So just the weight of your coat. Take the ball, sneak it underneath. Your hands are empty. Anytime you want to steal it, you just reach underneath, grab it, and you secretly clip it between your fingers, and you take it back into your hand. So this is a great thing to keep in mind if you don't want to have any pins or gimmicks connected to your coat. Thing Max Malini used to do for like vanishing a deck and things like that is when he would sit down at a table, he would actually put a load of something between his, under his knee like this. So you go up to a table, you go to sit down, you place a load of sponge balls or sponge bunny rabbits under your knee. When you're ready to make the steal, you just adjust your chair a little bit, you steal the load out of your hand, and you're ready for the production. Behind the neck, that's another great place to hide sponge balls. In fact, it's used in the Benson bowl routine. All you do is you take a ball, you wedge it between your neck and your collar of your shirt or your coat, and it'll stay there, ready for action. So for example, in the Benson bowl routine, you take a regular sponge ball, a duplicate sponge ball, you put it in your hand, you make it disappear. It does not appear under the bowl, you can't seem to find it. Of course, you don't look where it really is, it's in your hand. And your hand over here reaches behind your neck and you pull this out. And Don Allen used to say, oh, I'm up to my neck in sponges, which was a great bit. But now you're a step ahead because you have an extra duplicate sponge ready to go on with the routine. Another thing you could do, Johnny Thompson used to do this, as you would put it behind your necktie. Well, actually, that's the old way to do it. You hide it behind your necktie. If you have a label on your necktie, that's a good place. You just wedge it into the label. Johnny Thompson's idea was even better, and that is it doesn't really go behind the necktie, but it goes between the buttons of your shirt. So that actually keeps it in a more secure position. So you could be walking around, you make a ball vanish, you don't know where it went, it's not up your sleeves. You just reach apparently behind your necktie and you actually pull the ball out from between your buttons. Great idea. If you happen to have a lot of different sizes, different shapes, different colors, and you want to keep them organized in your pockets, here's a hot tip. You go down to your local magic store and you buy a pocket divider. All right, you don't really have to buy it. All it is, it's a piece of cardboard. It's about 3 inches by 5 inches, of course, depending on the size of your pocket. And all you do is you put this inside like this, and you remember the order of the colors of the balls. I'll use the primary colors on one side, red, yellow, and blue. Now, if I put those in my pocket closest to my body, on the body side of the divider, and then I put 2 or 3 other colors on the opposite side, that means you can have 2 rows of 3 balls, 6 balls, 6 different colors in your pocket, and any color that you want you could secretly steal out instantly, because you know whether you're taking the forward ball, the middle ball, or the back ball on either the row that's closest to your body or the row that's away from your body, and the divider's in the middle. So that's a good tip. Keep that in mind. Productions. How do you produce a ball of sponge? First, I'll show you how to do what we call ball from nowhere. Nothing in the hands, nothing up the sleeves. I blow gently, and as if by magic, a ball materializes from thin air. That's my favorite method, and we'll talk about that at the end. But first, let's do the easiest methods first. Probably the very easiest method of all is from a loose finger palm. If you've got a ball hidden in your hand is resting on the table, the ball is hidden in a loose finger palm. All you do, just reach into the sky, and there it is. That's not a difficult thing to do. You just open your hand, you roll the ball with your thumb towards the middle finger, and there it is. Now in slow motion, it looks like this, but at regular speed, it almost looks like you just produce it out of thin air. If you don't feel like producing the ball from thin air, you could just as easily produce it from your elbow. You could produce it from the tip of a magic wand or a chopstick. Another nice thing to do is you produce it from a little boy or a little girl's ear. That's a great thing. Now that's a loose finger palm. If you do it with a tight finger palm, which is the same idea, but remember, it's so tight that you can actually show your hand apparently empty. Here's a little tip. Tip and tap the thumb and first finger together. As you produce the ball, bring these fingers back in a closed position. So it starts in a closed position, and after the production, they're in a closed position. So it looks like there's nothing, and then all of a sudden there's a ball. Now if you do the same tight finger palm type production, you can use a smaller ball and hide it between the little finger and ring finger closed into the palm. That gives you more empty space. Now you could tap your thumb and middle finger together. That looks actually pretty good. It looks like your hand's pretty empty. You produce the ball from thin air, and like before, you close the ring finger and little finger back into the palm. So that's a good thing to do. You have nothing here, boop, you just produce the ball as if by magic. Milton Court had a wonderful tip that he used in a silver-copper coin transposition that was in Modern Coin Magic, a great coin magic book by J.B. Bobo. And his method is you'd have the ball in the thumb palm. Actually, it was a coin trick, but I mean, for the sponge balls, you have the ball in the thumb palm, you show your hand empty, you say, if I rub the hand like this, a little squeeze, and the ball appears as if by magic. So what that is it starts in the thumb palm. You close your left hand into a fist. There's nothing inside. You rub the back of the hand like this. Remember, this is thumb palmed. As you turn your left hand palm upwards, you pivot. The fingertips stay on the back of the hand. You pivot your left hand palm up like this, and your right hand pivots palm up. But in doing that, what happens secretly is you open up your fist, you open up your hand a little bit, and you transfer the ball from your right hand secretly into your left hand. Then you do your little bit of magic, and there's the ball. So at regular speed, it should look like there's nothing. Clap your hands. Remember, it's a thumb palm, so you can do that. You say, if I make a little fist, rub the back of my hand like this, rub like this, there's the ball. So many different ways. Here's another way. This is an old classic. It's the old top of the pocket dodge. You can use a large ball, you can use a pocket handkerchief. All you do is you put the ball secretly into your pocket, but at the top corner like this. This way, it's sort of wedged in there. You can show your hand's empty. You can show your pocket is empty. It's a very convincing thing. You put your hand back in, and in putting your pocket back in, you actually pull the ball out from the corner and put it down into the bottom of the pocket, so then you can make your production later. Now here's another nice thing about this particular production, is if you have a second ball, either a different color or the same color, you can have both of them up in this corner. Show your hands empty, show your pocket empty. As you close this, you put them both into your hand, into your pocket, and you pull one out, and now you're one step ahead. You have a second ball secretly hidden. So you're ready to go from there. My favorite production is the one I did at the very beginning, and this is a great thing to know because it's not just for sponge balls. You can use this for producing money, like dollar bills or $10 bills. So if the pizza person comes over to your house and you want to produce money to pay for the pizza, you show your hands empty, you rub your hands together, boom, there's money. All you do is this. You need to be wearing a coat or some kind of a long sleeve because the preparation is you take your load, in this case a ball, put it here, and then roll a little piece of material over it like that. Now here's a good thing. If you have your hand or your arm straight and you roll a little piece like this, you could keep your arm almost straight and it won't be seen. That's good. You do not have to have what we like to call dinosaur hands. You don't have to keep your hands close like this. This looks very unnatural. Have your hands almost open like this. That looks pretty fair. Here's the misdirection. Your left hand, because it's your left arm that's got the load, pulls up your right sleeve first as your right hand is shown empty. Okay, so that's the first part. Then you do the exact opposite. Your right hand pulls up your left sleeve as your left hand is shown empty. That's more misdirection. In pulling up the sleeve, you're actually making the steal. So you have the load here. After this hand is empty, now you rub both hands together, you blow, you do your magic, and voila, you have ball from nowhere. Once you've produced one ball, it's a nice thing to produce a second ball from the first ball. There are a few ways to do that. Probably the easiest way is this. You have a ball on the table, just pick it up, blow on it, and slowly split it into two balls. All that is you have one ball in a loose finger palm, you have one ball on the table. You need a reason to add this ball to that ball. So what you do is you pick this up and blow on it. Now I'm pressing two balls together as one. When you bring them back down, you just let the two balls separate as you slowly, apparently, split it into two. Now you could make a big thing about this splitting it in two. Instead of doing it very slowly, you can blow on it and then pretend to twist the ball into two sections and then split it into two pieces like this and then allow each piece to grow into a full ball. In fact, some people go a little further. They have this ball hidden. They show one ball here. They blow on it. They don't twist it. They just tear it into two pieces and then allow each piece to grow into a full-sized ball. Personally, my favorite method for splitting one ball into two is this. It's like sawing a lady in half. You show the ball on the table, you blow on it, you put it back down on the table, and then very slowly and very visibly, you saw the ball into two pieces like that. The way that's done, the same as the other versions. You just have this hidden in your hand. You have the ball on the table. You pick up the ball to blow on it. You add the two together. So there's two balls posing as one. When you put them back down on the table, you put your finger between the two balls, but I'm pressing against the table so that it doesn't expose the two. It looks still like it's one ball. And very slowly, this is a very nice moment. You see, look, 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 look. It's almost like sawing a woman in half. I'm separating the visible ball from the invisible ball, and you end up with two balls. And then you can continue on with your favorite sponge ball routine. Passes and vanishes. In other words, false transfers. Before I show you the actual mechanics and the techniques for performing these false transfers, I'd like to take just a few moments to offer you some general guidelines and tips. First, false transfer tips. The most important thing is that your false transfer should simulate the actual action of transferring the ball from one hand to the other. Now, the hand that is supposed to have the ball should look like it has the ball. In other words, if you have a big, giant 2 or 3 inch sponge ball and you pretend to put it in your left hand, but then your left hand is in a very, very tight fist, it couldn't possibly be holding a ball. So the hand should be puffed out a little bit, as if there's something inside. In fact, I've got a beautiful photograph I'd like to show you from my very, very favorite book in magic, the Di Vernon Book of Magic. Here's a series of photographs of Di Vernon performing a false transfer for a cups and ball routine, for example, using a solid ball. But the principle's the same. This hand is supposed to have the ball inside. Actually, the ball is secretly concealed in the other hand. But notice how this hand looks like it could actually be holding a ball inside. In other words, it's not a very, very tight fist that couldn't possibly be holding a ball. That's what we should keep in mind when we're doing sponge ball magic. The next tip is to look where you want your audience to look. Now, this applies to any false transfer. Do not have a ball in this hand, do the false transfer, and then look at the hand that secretly has the ball. You're supposed to look where you want the audience to look, where the ball is supposed to be. This is a good thing to keep in mind. Have it here, pretend to put it here, continue to look there. All right? False transfer. Another thing is do not move the dirty hand. Now, the dirty hand is the hand that secretly has something hidden inside. So if you do a false transfer, you start with the ball here, pretend to put it here. The audience should believe it's here. It's actually here. This is called the dirty hand. Now, some magicians feel guilty. They want to get this out of sight, so they actually move it and they put it behind their back or they put it in their lap. This is bad. First of all, motion attracts the audience's attention. You don't want the audience looking at the dirty hand. Another thing is the audience will say, well, why did he move that hand out of sight all of a sudden? Is he trying to hide something? What's going on over there? Don't let him even go in that direction. If the ball is here, you pretend to put it here, you look at it as if it's there. That's where all of the audience's attention should be. Don't feel guilty about the dirty hand. Now, this takes some doing, takes some practice. Don't even think about it. In fact, act and believe with all of your heart that the ball or the object is where it's supposed to be. Now, what this does, this creates the body language, this creates the intangible communication that greatly strengthens the illusion. I remember watching Slidini when I was younger, and Slidini was an absolute master of this. He would show you things that were not there. He would take a coin, he'd drop it into his lap, but he would hold it up. He wouldn't look at the coin, but he would look at you, but he would go like this, he'd go like this, and it would vanish, and it was just amazing, because you felt that he felt that the coin was there, even though it wasn't. Try to do this in your sponge ball magic. Do the false transfer, believe the ball is there, and believe it's magic when it disappears. We'll talk about standard passes first, and then a little bit later, we'll get into what we call the retention passes. The first of the standard passes is known as the hook vanish. It's also known as the awkward and unnatural vanish. In fact, Frank Garcia called this the much ado about nothing vanish. The reason for these names is because it's a very unnatural way to do a vanish. Now, let me show you the move. You show a ball, you put it in your hand, you close your hand, you squeeze it, the ball disappears. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I don't like it because I think the most important thing with a false transfer is it should look like a natural transfer. Your false action should look like the natural action. And I have never in my entire life seen somebody place an object into their hand like this. You just don't do it. So magicians will say, oh, that's a great move. It looks like the ball's in there. Oh, I like this. I want to learn how to do this. I say don't waste your time. There's other vanishes that are a lot better. But if you insist on learning it, this is how it's done. You clip the ball between your two middle fingers, you put your other hand palm up, you put this into the palm, you close your fingers around it. Then secretly what you're going to do is your right hand is going to move upwards to cover, and you pull the hand out, which pulls the ball out because you never let go of the clip. And then you point to it and it's gone. So you say, oh, I like that. That's actually pretty good. You put the ball in there, they see it in there, and then they see it's gone. Please believe me when I tell you there are better ways to do a false transfer. Here's another way that's not my number one favorite, but it's better. So we're heading in the right direction. It's called the thumb palm vanish. If you remember, the thumb palm is where you hold the ball like this. You do this and you've got it thumb palmed. Well, if you clip the ball and then you pretend to take it with the other hand like this, it looks like it's gone. That's not a bad move. You cover it and as if you're going to just take it, but you don't take it. Secretly under cover of your left hand, these fingers curl in, you thumb palm it, then you put the fingers out again. A nice thing about this, at least they see the ball, and then when you bring your hand away, they don't see the ball, so it sort of looks like it's gone. Another thing you could do with the thumb palm is the old billiard ball vanish, and this is pretty nice. Instead of classic palming a billiard ball, as you toss it into the air once, twice, and then classic palm it on 3, you could do the same type of thing with a sponge ball. You throw it in the air once, twice, and on 3, you thumb palm it, and it looks like it's gone, but basically it's just thumb palmed. Next, we have a little something called the mash move. Gary Darwin has a lovely touch on this. The move is basically this. You have a ball, you put it here, you push it into your fist like this, and boom, that puppy's gone. Now the way this is done is you actually start with the ball here. When you push it into your fist with your right thumb actually moves behind the ball, so it's your empty thumb that's kind of going into your left fist, and the ball is ending up in the thumb palm position. How convenient. Just sort of close your thumb a little bit against your hand, so when you bring your hand out, it is thumb palmed. Now Gary Darwin's touch on this was to start with your thumb at the middle, as if you're really going to push the ball into your left fist, but then at the last minute you sort of change your mind and it moves to the back of the ball, and you do that. Now I always give it an extra little push with my index finger. So that's basically the mash move. It looks like the ball's there, it looks like you're pushing it into your fist, and you thumb palm it in the other hand. A good thing about the mash move is you could do it with more than one ball, 2, 3, 4 balls, however many that you can thumb palm in your right hand. Same move exactly. There's the first one, apparently push it in. There's the second one, apparently push that one in as well, and they're both gone. It's the same thing exactly. The first one goes in, and it's thumb palmed, right? The second one, just like the first one, it starts here, and you thumb palm that as well. One of the few things that you can do with the mash move that you can do with very, very few other false transfer techniques is you could use different colored balls. There's a thing called the pop-up move. I mean, there's a lot of different techniques with sponge balls. In fact, there's volumes of information. But right now, we're just talking about the essentials. But this is a good thing to know. If you happen to have different colored balls and you want to do a multiple vanish, you can do it with the mash move. So there's the first one. The red ball goes in, apparently. The blue ball goes in with the red ball. And finally, the yellow ball goes in with the blue and the red ball. And all of the balls vanish because they're all over here. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. Now let's talk about my very favorite false transfer. I call it the simple pass because that's all it is. It's just a very simple, natural looking pass. It's this, it's this, it's that. It's gone. It's a false put. There's a put where you put something in your hand, not to be confused with a take where you have something here and you pretend to take it. That's a false take. But I'm going to talk about a false put. There's the ball. You pretend to put it in your other hand. Actually do it a few times. Look in the mirror. See what does that look like when I actually transfer it. Well, it starts here. It goes here. You let go with your right hand. You close your left hand, and your left hand continues to move. That's the actual action. The false action should look exactly the same. The difference is you just don't let go. You don't actually transfer it. You just don't let go with your right hand. You put it there, and it's not there because you held onto it with your thumb against your fingers of the right hand. Your left hand closes as if it took the ball, but it's really here. Your left hand continues, and it's gone. So it's a simple, natural action. You show the ball, pretend to put it there, and make it disappear. That is the simple pass. If you already know how to do the French drop, and a lot of magicians know how to do this with a coin or a rock, you could do the same thing with a sponge ball. Make it disappear. I think it looks even better with a smaller ball, but that's just my personal opinion. The French drop is this move here. You show the object between your thumb and your middle finger. You pretend to take it like this. As soon as you cover it, you just drop the ball into the finger palm secretly behind your left hand, like that. Then your left hand closes. Both hands turn over, so both hands sort of pivot, palm down, and this one goes palm up, like that. So it looks like this, it looks like this, and it's gone. Here's a little tip. You do not have to point. I know a lot of magicians, they insist on pointing. You don't need to do that. In fact, it's probably a good idea not to do that. Show the ball, show the object, pretend to put it in your other hand, and then make it disappear. Now this reminds me of a very important move, once again, from the Di Vernon Book of Magic. Don't make a big thing out of this action. That looks like you're about to do something tricky. In fact, let me show you that picture. I want you to see this. Same book, same page. This is the photograph I'm talking about. Di Vernon is about ready to do the French drop, but he's purposely telegraphing the move. This is normally the opening to doing the French drop, but it looks like you're about to do something tricky. He would never really do it that way in actual performance. His methods were much more natural looking. So basically what I'm saying is if you are going to use the French drop as a technique for making a sponge ball vanish, it's probably not a good idea to make a big thing out of this. before you do the move. Try to do it as naturally as possible. That looks a little bit better. Now, with that being said, this is going to conveniently lead us into a whole other category of false transfers known as retention passes. Next, I'd like to talk about retention passes. This is the retention of vision. What this means basically is that the audience sees the ball after it's covered up with the hand that apparently receives it. So you see the ball and the hand covers it. Now, this is a bad way to do the French drop, but it is a good way to do a retention vanish. So they see the ball, you see it covered up, and then it's gone. Now what this is, it's basically a French drop. The main difference is that you actually do show it in the hand. You do close the fingers around it first. After it is shielded from view by the left fingers, then the right thumb pushes the ball secretly into the finger palm of the right hand. Of course, that's concealed from view, and then it's your left hand that turns palm up like that. So if you do it like this, it actually looks like the ball is in the hand, and then it looks like it vanishes. Now, because you could clip this ball anywhere because it's made out of sponge, why not, instead of pushing it down with your left or your right thumb, clip it between your ring finger and your middle finger of your palm up right hand. That way you don't need your thumb to do it. You can show it like this, you can cover it up, you can do this, and apparently it's there and it's gone. Same idea, but instead of pushing it down with your thumb, you just clip it and you cover it. And once it's covered, then your right hand moves out of the way, stealing the ball secretly as your left hand closes and turns palm up, and then you reveal the vanish. Audley Walsh had a vanish he called the finger pinch pass. It's also a retention vanish. You hold the ball between your thumb and first finger like this, and what happens is you put it into your palm up left hand. Just like before, you wait until it is shielded from view. So you close your left fingers. Under cover of that, your right fingers reach out, the ring finger and middle finger, and you clip the ball and bring it into the right palm. So at regular speed, it looks like this, and then it's gone. Okay, so it looks like this, it covers up. Secretly, these fingers go, grab it, bring it back in, and do this. So now the index finger and thumb no longer has the ball. So that's a pretty good illusion of the ball being in the hand. That's a lot of action, though. These fingers have to reach out, clip, grab, and pull in quickly. So some people do this a little bit differently. They start with the ball here, but they actually clip it at the beginning between the ring finger and the middle finger as well. So this is the opening position. Now you don't have to reach out with your ring finger and middle finger because you've already clipped the ball. What you have to do now is just let go with your thumb and first finger and pull the ring finger and middle finger inward. So the same idea, it goes here, it's covered, and then it's gone. So that gives you a retention as well. This, that. Now, once you understand this action of this and pulling it inwards, you don't have to do it to a palm up hand. There's other versions of this particular vanish. Some people like to push it a little higher into the fist instead of in the palm, up a little bit higher. And that creates a nice illusion as well. Another thing is the OK vanish. I've actually seen this called the OK vanish. The only problem with the OK vanish, you do that OK sign. Apparently in some countries this is considered a rude gesture, so you might have to be careful where you do this. But you could do this. You can show the ball, put it in your hand, close your fingers, and make it disappear. Exactly the same technique. You show the ball, you put it into the other hand, you cover it. The only difference is instead of covering it this way, you're covering it this way, and you're putting it in between the thumb and the curled first finger like this. So okay, it closes. Once it's closed, then the ring finger and middle finger secretly pull it into the right hand as the left hand apparently takes the ball and moves away. Another thing you can do is this, and I like this version. This looks to me perfectly natural. It's gone. Same idea exactly as the OK vanish, as this vanish. It's just another handling for the Audley Walsh vanish. You put it into your palm up hand. Your palm is towards the audience. You put it here. You close the fingers. Remember, that was what makes the retention vanish strong, is the audience sees the ball in the hand after the fingers close over it. After it has been shielded from view with the right or the left fingers, then the right fingers secretly steal it into the hand. So at regular speed, it's this, and it's gone. Practice this in front of a mirror a few times, get the timing on it, and you'll be very, very happy with this particular handling of the retention vanish. Ball to spectator's hand. Finally, this is what sponge ball magic is all about. The most impressive thing you can do with sponge balls is make one ball vanish from your hand, fly through the air invisibly, and land inside of a spectator's tightly clenched fist. This is great magic. This is why I do the trick personally. All you have to do is know how to do some type of false transfer. Any false transfer, doesn't matter. You pick up the tabled ball, secretly squeezing the two balls together, handing them to a spectator. They hold it in a tight fist, and you tell them, the tighter you hold it, the better it is. You blow here, you make the magic happen. The ball vanishes from the magician's hand, flies through the air invisibly. Have the spectator open up their hand, and inside they will find two balls. As easy as this is to do, there's some little tips I'd like to give you to make this even more effective. First of all, you've got to make sure that the spectator keeps their hand closed. But even before that, when you put the two balls posing as one into their hand, you've got to be aware of the orientation. It's not a good idea to put two balls as one in their hand this way so that the two balls are horizontal. Because if they loosen up their fist a little bit, their middle finger or one of their fingers could go between the balls and they might feel that there's two. They might feel a separation. Try to get into the habit of putting them in this way. So if they close their hand into a tight fist, they're not going to feel two balls at all. In fact, you really want to make sure they don't open their hand. I say close it, hold it tightly, turn your hand over. There are several different techniques to make sure they keep their hand closed. But first, let's go to this. You do a false transfer or a retention vanish. I mean, any one of the moves, it doesn't matter which version you use, whichever version you think is most convincing, use that as your false transfer. Secretly, you add the ball to the tabled ball, squeeze the two together, say hold on to it tightly. Remember, place it into their hands so that they're vertical as opposed to horizontal. You say close your hand tightly, very, very tightly. Turn your hand over, but don't grab their fist and turn their hand over and slap it onto the table and press on it. You've got to be subtle. You've got to just find this happy medium. You've got control, but not so much control that it's obvious. Some people will put a coin or a purse frame or something on the back of the spectator's fist. That prevents them from opening up their hand. My favorite thing to do is just to use psychology. Say, hold it tightly. Don't let it get away, or don't let me get to it. If their mind is thinking, he's going to try to sneak it out of my hand, well, I'm going to hold it very, very tightly to make sure that he doesn't. That's exactly what you want them to do. So do anything you can do to get the spectator to hold it very tightly. This brings to mind my favorite ploy. This is by Peter Samuelson. Great idea. He calls it the drop ploy. Imagine you're a spectator and there's two balls. Here's what you do. You say, usually you do this with a nice lady. You say, hold your hand palm upwards, and you stroke her hand gently, and you say, okay, keep it nice and flat. So they keep their hand flat, palm up on the table. Then you, as a gag, you could say, oh, this has nothing to do with the magic, but it feels so good, I just hate to leave it out. So you kind of play around a little bit. You do the false move, pretend to hold the ball in your hand. Here's the subtlety, you say, and then you hold this ball. What you do is the audience doesn't know, but you've got the other ball concealed. You drop this into their hand, but you drop it from a height of a few inches, and you allow it to bounce out of their hand onto the table, as if that was an accident, but you do it on purpose. You say, no, hold it tightly, squeeze it, just like I'm holding mine. Now, here's the psychology. From the spectator's point of view, you tried to get them to hold the one ball, it bounced out by accident, and then they get a little embarrassed. Oh, no, hold it tightly. Oh, okay. So they feel a little bit uncomfortable, but they're going to hold it very, very tightly the second time they have the opportunity. So that's the subtlety. You say, look, I'll hold this ball. You hold this ball. Oh, wait. Oh, no, hold it tightly. Don't let it go out. Squeeze it just as tight as I'm holding mine. Now you're set. You make your ball vanish. It flies through the air invisibly, apparently, and it lands inside the spectator's fist. And sure enough, the spectator opens their hand, and they've got two. That is a miracle. Only one more thing I'd like to mention about this, and that is the moment of magic. This is a great effect, so build it up, milk it for all it's worth. Do something to make the magic happen. Don't just throw this away. It's too good to throw away. Don't just say, all right, I'll hold the ball here, you hold the ball, my ball's gone, you've got two. Where's the magic in that? The moment of magic is like, I will hold this ball, I'll hold it very, very tightly. See how tightly I hold it? In fact, I'll turn my hand palm over. You hold this ball just as tightly. Now, you're set up, but you haven't done the magic yet. You say, all I have to do is massage the fingers like this, blow, and mine vanishes. it flies through the air and it lands inside. I like to milk this. I say, it lands inside of your tightly clenched fist. Do you believe such utter nonsense? Usually they'll play along. Say, no, I can't possibly believe such. There's one way to find out. Slowly and dramatically, open your hand. In other words, do something to make the magic happen. You can blow on it. Michael Skinner was great at blowing on things. You could snap your fingers. You could tap it with the magic wand. But do something that makes the magic happen, and then show the result of the magic, and that's the effect. Bill Malone has a wonderful touch on this. Instead of just taking a ball and making it disappear, he milks it. He does a very nice thing. He takes the ball, puts it in his hand. He says, look, if I squeeze it, massage it gently, it's going to vanish. It's getting smaller and smaller. In fact, now it is so small I could just hold it between my thumb and first finger. And look, it's gone. What's funny about this is at this point, spectators in the audience are thinking, it's not gone. It's still hidden in your hand. And then no, I'm not kidding. That puppy's gone. So you get that extra little moment of making the ball vanish. It's going, it's gone. And then it's really gone. I'm not kidding. That is a nice touch. Well done, Bill. Well, just for fun, I'd like to show you a few miscellaneous effects that you could do with sponge balls. The first is very simple. You take the ball, put it in your pocket, and watch this, right through the material. The old ball through the pocket trick. It's nothing more than any type of false transfer. Put apparently the ball into your pocket. Of course, it's the empty hand. The ball's really here. All you do is you extend your knuckle of your first finger bent like this, so it sort of seems like it's the ball that's in the pocket. And all you do is you cover it with your right hand and then slowly allow the ball to appear between your first two fingers, giving the effect of a quick penetration. If you want to do it to the other pocket, same thing, but you don't need to do a false transfer into your right hand. I would do basically the coin through the pocket method. And that is this. You show the ball, you actually do put it in the pocket, you actually pinch it through the material, and of course it won't come through. The material's in the way, but if I snap my fingers, that allows the material to expand, and that allows the ball to pass right through. And of course, the pocket can be completely examined. No holes. What you do here is you actually do put the ball into your pocket like this. As soon as it's inside, you pinch a little bit of the material of your pants pocket with your left first finger and thumb. Your right hand just comes out of the pocket, casually stealing the ball with it. So it goes like this, and like that. So apparently the ball is still in the pocket, all the attention's here. What you do is you secretly load this ball underneath the material. And all you do is you just grab some material, force it underneath. So the audience doesn't know this, but it's under the material. Now you can show your right hand empty, snap your fingers, and it's a very good effect when you very slowly bring the ball into view. It looks like the ball's actually passing right through the material. So that's a quick way, or two quick ways to do the ball through pocket effect. If there's a table nearby, you can do a very convincing ball through the table effect. Just take a ball, put it on top of the table, the other hand underneath, and if you rub or pass it through like this, apparently it goes right through the solid table. For this, of course, you just do any type of false transfer. The hand that apparently has the ball goes on top of the table. The hand that actually has the ball goes underneath the table. And you give the illusion that you either pass it through by knocking it, or you rub it gently, or pass it through like this, and it goes right through the solid tabletop. If you happen to have a stool, you're sitting behind the table, it's even better. Now you can throw in a little bit of Tony Slidini. And Slidini, as you may know, was an absolute master of using his lap as a servante. So you can do the false transfer like this, and you can show your hand empty first before it goes underneath the table. Then the other hand rubs it through or knocks it through, and you still have a ball through the table effect, but with the added touch of showing your hand empty first. All this is simple false transfer, and Slidini would say, pretend that the edge of the table is hot. Because what would happen is this. You do the false transfer. This hand actually has the ball. It rests on the edge of the table, but just for a second. Imagine that it's hot. As soon as you touch it, it's hot, you come back up again. And in that moment is when you drop the ball. So here's what happens. You show the ball, you apparently put it here, you show this hand is empty. Here's another nice Slidini touch. This hand goes underneath all the way. In other words, do not get into the habit of diving into your lap and picking up whatever it is you dropped. go under the table as if you're reaching way under there like this. And once the hand is way underneath the middle of the table from underneath, you pull it back and you pick up whatever's in your lap. So it's here. You bring your hand back. You show the penetration. And also when you bring your hand out, bring your arm out straight like this. In other words, you don't want to do this, bring your hand back, do the penetration, and then bring your hand out this way. That's no good. So once again, you do the move, you lap it, you show your hand empty. Your hand goes apparently all the way underneath the middle of the table from underneath like this, goes through and into the other hand. And there you have it, Slidini's ball through the table. Let's talk a little bit more about the Passe sponge by Martin Gardner. I showed you at the very beginning the basic handling, and that's the most important stuff, but let's get a little bit more into the details. The 1 through 10 count is great. You don't have to use the 1 through 10 count, but it adds a very nice touch. Once again, if you forgot, it's this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now I did this for my little girl's birthday party, and there were all these kids, and I did this over and over again. The apparent effect was it only works when you count properly. When you do it backwards, it doesn't work. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nothing happens. But if you count from 1 to 10, it works every single time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In fact, Martin Gardner suggests that you do the routine or you do the handling once and not have the effect happen first, just to establish the actions. Then when you do it a second time, you actually do the false transfer. Everything's exactly the same, except if you don't want the magic to happen, of course, you actually do transfer the ball to your other hand. And if you do want the magic to happen, you do the false transfer. You just don't let go. And you use, of course, the misdirection of this hand closing and that ball becoming visible to hang on to the ball secretly in your hand. If you don't have a tabletop, you can still do this trick. Just borrow the spectator and clip the 2 balls between your fingers like this. But you don't do the 1 through 10 count. You say, look, just 2 balls. This ball goes here. This ball goes here. So you still have the same type of misdirection of this ball coming into view when you close the hand. You just put one back here, one here, pretend to put it in this hand, pick up this one, here, it goes across. Jules Lanier, I remember this from the Magic Castle days, he used to do a great trick called blow gun, like a blow gun. And he'd put 1 coin in one hand, 1 coin in the other hand. He'd blow into this hand, this coin would vanish and appear over into the other hand. Well, Steve Spill came up with the same idea using sponge balls. He called it blow sponge. And the idea was you do the same 1 through 10 count, and all you do is you blow here and have it appear into the other hand like that. If you want to do this same version, the same method, the 10 count or the Martin Gardner thing, you could place the 2 balls as one into the spectator's hand and make this ball vanish and land in their hand as well. So there's just a few extra tips to keep in mind for the Martin Gardner Passe sponge. Well, now that you have a lot of the bits and pieces for performing magic with sponges, let me show you a couple of routines. Now, this first routine is the exact routine that's in the original Sponge Balls instructions. In fact, it's called a basic sponge ball routine. Nothing in the hands and nothing up the sleeves. The idea is very simple. I just pull my hands together, rub them like that, and as if by magic, a ball appears from nowhere. Now, that could be examined completely. In fact, that's a very good thing. Let the spectator examine the ball that you just magically produced. Once it's been examined, you take the ball, you twist it right in front of their eyes into 2 pieces. You split it right down the middle into 2 balls. That's a pretty good thing. You say, here's an interesting thing. If I put 1 ball in this hand, 1 ball in this hand, I can blow here and catch there. That makes this ball vanish completely, fly through the air invisibly, and land in my other hand like that. Now, that's a pretty good trick, but it happened in my hand. It would be better if I could do this in the spectator's hand. That's exactly what you do. Get somebody from the audience, usually a lady is better for this. They react a little more strongly. You say, look, I'll hold this ball very, very tightly. You hold this ball just as tightly. Place it in the spectator's hand. Then you say, if I snap my fingers, the ball vanishes from my hand. It flies through the air. Open your hand. The lady opens her hand, and inside is 2 balls of sponge. That is a great moment. perfect moment for misdirection. You say, I'll tell you what, let's try it in reverse. Hold on to both of the balls. I'll see if I could sneak one out. So apparently you give the nice lady 2 balls. She holds them very, very tightly. What she doesn't know is that she's got 3. But anyway, she holds it tightly, and you say, I'm going to try to sneak one away. No, wait a minute. That's too hard. You're holding too tightly. Let me try something a little different. I have a 3rd ball. I have it right here. And if I go like this and like this, I can make this 3rd ball vanish from my hand, fly through the air, and join your 2. Then she opens her hand, and she's got 3 balls. That's a wonderful, wonderful moment. Now, in the instructions, it says to finish like this. You say, I'll tell you what, you hold all 3 balls in your hand in a tight fist, and we'll do a little bit of magic. And what that does is it magically causes a 4th ball to appear from nowhere. That way you finish with 4 balls. Personally, I don't really like the idea of finishing with a 4th ball just coming out of nowhere. I think that kind of tips the method that you're loading extra balls. Here's the misdirection. You start with 3 balls in one pocket, 1 ball in the crook of the arm, the left arm, so you can do the ball from nowhere effect. Nothing in the hands, nothing up the sleeves. You steal the first ball, put the 2 hands together, and you produce the ball. Now this is very strong misdirection. As soon as you put this down and say, examine the ball, you step back a little bit as if you're just relaxing. You're out of frame, you're out of the picture for a moment. While everything is going on here, you put your hands in your pocket casually, you steal another ball. Once the ball's been examined, you come back up again, you pick it up, adding secretly the extra ball, twist it right in front of the audience and separate it into 2 balls like that, and now you're ready to do some magic. You could go right into the ball into the spectator's hand, but I like to do it once where I put apparently 1 ball in one hand, 1 ball in my other hand, and I make the ball vanish from one of my hands to my other hand like this. That's a pretty good little trick, but then I say, you know, it would be even better if I could do the magic in your hand. Now you get a volunteer from the audience. You do the exact same effect again. False transfer. You say, I'll hold this ball tightly. I'll turn my hand over like that. You hold this ball just as tightly. Of course, you've got 2, posing as 1. The spectator holds it tightly. You make your ball vanish. The spectator opens her hand, and she's got 2. Trust me when I tell you, that's plenty of misdirection to step back, reach into your pockets again with both hands, secretly steal out a 3rd ball. Now there's 2 basic ways to cause a sponge ball to vanish from your hand and appear in a spectator's hand. One is what I just did. You do the false transfer first, and then you secretly load 2, posing as 1, into their hand. That's a perfectly good method. Here's the second method, and it's even a little bit better in some respects, because after you've got 2 and you've secretly stolen the 3rd ball, immediately you come up and say, I'll tell you what, this time you hold both balls. Now the spectator's holding both balls in a very tight fist. They don't know this, but they've got 3 balls in their hand. Okay? That's perfect, because now you say, well, I'll tell you what, instead of taking one of those balls out, I've got a 3rd ball right here. Now you are introducing the 3rd ball for the very first time. There's a little bit of psychology going on here. Up until this point, before you pulled this 3rd ball out, all the spectators know about is 2 balls. So you're an extra step ahead. They're holding 3, but they only know about 2. Now you say, oh, I have a 3rd ball. I'm going to try the same thing. I'll take the 3rd ball, do the false transfer. It's gone, and open your hand. They will be amazed when they find 3 balls in their hand like that. That's a good place to end the trick. The only problem is you end a little bit dirty because you've got this ball here. If you want to, you could just pick up all the balls, put them back in your pocket, and you're done. If you insist on producing the 4th ball, it's certainly easy enough. You pick up all 3 balls, actually 4, posing as 3. You say, hold them tightly. I'm going to do a little bit of magic. What that does is it causes a 4th ball to magically appear from nowhere. And that's the end of that routine. A nice thing about this is when you finish, you could put the balls all in your right coat pocket. That is the setup for the final trick I'd like to show you, the final routine. This is called the comeback balls. This is probably the most popular sponge ball routine out there. Certainly the setup is simple enough. You have 4 balls, any size, in your right coat pocket. You don't have to start with the balls secretly concealed for production. What you do is you say, this is a very simple mystery. It's called the comeback balls, but actually we call it the 3-ball mystery because it uses 3 balls. Okay? That's what it's called, the 3-ball mystery. Ball number 1 goes in the hand, ball number 2 goes in the hand, ball number 3 goes in the pocket. But this is called the 3-ball trick because it uses 1, 2, 3 balls. I'll do that again. Ball number 1 in the hand, ball number 2 in the hand, ball number 3 goes in the pocket. How many should I have in the hand? The spectators will say 2. You say, ah, but this is the 3-ball trick because it uses 1, 2, 3 balls. You can do this over and over again. Eventually, you want to bring the routine to a little close, so you say, I'll do it one last time. Ball number 1 in the hand, ball number 2 in the hand, ball number 3 goes in the pocket. How many should be in the hand? The spectators will say there should be 2. You say, ah, but it's called the 3-ball trick. How many should be in the hand? And then they'll say, ah, 3. Some say 2, some say 3. You say, oh, now you're guessing. Actually, it's called the 3-ball mystery because all 3 balls mysteriously disappear. And that's how you finish. Now, a good thing about this is you finish clean with a surprise. All of the balls vanish at the end. What's also good is all of the balls end up in your right coat pocket, so you're automatically reset for your next performance. Let me go through this step by step. It's actually quite simple. All 4 balls are in your right coat pocket. You come out. What you need to do, first of all, is take all the balls out of your pocket, but only 3 of them are shown. 1 remains hidden in your right hand. The easiest way to do that is as you reach into your pocket, you just grab any one of the balls that you touch, finger palm it, and then grab the other 3 balls. So when you lay these out, the audience doesn't know this, but you've got a 4th ball right here. You say it's the mystery 3 balls, a 3-ball trick. Pick up ball number 1, put it in your left hand, secretly adding the extra ball to it. So there's actually 2 balls in there. Then you say, here's ball number 2, that goes in the hand. Ball number 3 goes in the pocket. Now here's the misdirection. As soon as you put it in the pocket, you secretly finger palm it. So it's hidden in your hand. You say, but actually this is called the 3-ball trick because it uses 1, 2, 3 balls. So the misdirection of placing the 1, 2, 3 balls on the table is what you need to bring this hand secretly out of the pocket. So that's the first effect. You say, well, I'll do it again. Ball number 1 goes into the hand, and you actually put it in the hand. You don't add the second ball just yet, because now you can open your hand to show there's 1. Then you pick up the next ball, and you add that plus the hidden ball into your left hand. So now there's 3 balls here. The 3rd ball, you say, goes into the pocket. Very cleanly, it goes into the pocket. If you want to have some fun with your audience, you can fumble around a bit and then bring your hand out suspiciously, but you leave the ball in your pocket. That's why you act suspicious. You say, okay, and how many balls should be in the hand? They'll say, there should be 2. You say, ah, but this is called the 3-ball trick because it uses 1, 2, 3 balls. So now you're just messing around, having some fun. When you're ready for the big finish, here's what you do. 2 different ways you can do this. One is you can put the first ball in, but do a false transfer. And then do another false transfer for the second one. And then when you put the 3rd ball into your pocket, you put it in your pocket as well as the other 2. That way you have a complete vanish at the end. Or if you want to add 1 extra little touch, you can do this. Ball number 1 actually does go into the left hand. This is a little more subtle because now, as you pick up ball number 2, you can open up your hand to show ball number 1. That's good misdirection. You pick up this, they see that one in the hand, and as you apparently add ball number 2 to ball number 1 in the left hand, you actually steal them both out. Now that's actually kind of fun to do. The first one really goes in, the second one doesn't go in. Not only does the second one not go in, but you steal the first one out. So you pinch them together and you pull them both out. But at regular speed, it looks pretty good. It looks like this. I'll do it again. Ball number 1 goes in the hand. Ball number 2 goes in the hand as well. And ball number 3 goes in the pocket. Get rid of everything. Bring your hand out suspiciously again if you want to, or you don't have to. It's up to you. For the big finish, you say, oh, some people say 2 balls, some people say 3 balls. Actually, it's a 3-ball mystery, because the mystery is, how do all of the balls disappear? Well, there you have it. That is a lot of information with sponge ball magic. And before I go, I would like to give you some final tips. Now, 2 categories of tips. One is just basic general performing tips. And then later on, I'll give you a few more specific to sponge ball magic in particular. As far as general tips, first and foremost, practice in private until you can perform your magic tricks smoothly. You don't want to have to think about what you're doing while you're doing it. Do that while you practice. Repeat your tricks, but don't do them for the same audience. That's important. If you do the same trick for the same audience, the element of surprise will be ruined. Once the spectators know in advance what to look for, chances are they're more likely to discover your secret, and you don't want that. For maximum visibility, be sure that the color of your props contrasts the color of your clothes, your working surface, and the background. In other words, if you're doing tricks with red sponge balls, certainly don't wear a red coat and don't perform it on a red tabletop. So if you're going to a place to perform and you know the color of the tablecloth, if you know what you're going to be wearing, it's a good idea to have several different colored sponge balls, and you just bring out the right color at the right time. Routines, all of the routines that you do should be well paced. You don't want them too fast, you want to avoid confusion. On the other hand, you don't want them to be too slow because you'd like to prevent boredom. Include a wide variety of effects in your routines. Now this is good. It's always important to have something interesting happening all the time. Keep the spectators' minds occupied. In other words, you don't want to give them a chance to suspect what you're doing or to catch up to your methods. Also, make it crystal clear what's happening. Confusion is not magic. These were favorite words of Di Vernon. Make sure the audience knows exactly what the effect is. Crystal clear, that's important. One of my favorites is to watch your attitude. Do not be smart-alecky. Now, I didn't make that up. I read this when I was a little kid. This was the first magic book I ever got. The first book of magic. It was printed back in the 1950s when I was just a boy. It's got some wonderful pictures. This is a good one. It says, practice in front of a mirror if you can, because what you see in the mirror is what the audience sees. It's the audience's view. Here's a good one. Never tell how you did it. Up here, this I just said about this one. Don't do the trick twice. You'll be found out. In other words, if the element of surprise is lost, you're much more likely to have the secret discovered. But this is my favorite picture in the whole book. Don't be smart-alecky. Isn't that great? This guy's being a smart-aleck. This guy's saying, you're no good. I love this picture. Also, do not challenge your audience, or do not be condescending to your audience. This could be as simple as asking, how many balls are here? And when, of course, the audience answers, you say, no, you're wrong. That's no good. Be respectful. That's not asking too much. Be respectful of your audience, and even more importantly, be respectful of your helpers. If somebody is going to leave the comfort of their seat in the audience to come up on stage to help you in front of all these strangers, the least you can do is be extremely courteous to them and be very thankful for them when they go back to their seat. In fact, it's always a good idea to have the audience say, and let's give Joe here a wonderful round of applause for helping out. Make that person feel great. Be gentle. Do not manhandle the audience. And I've seen a lot of magicians do this, particularly with the sponge balls. You know how important it is to keep the spectator to have their hand closed, but don't make a big thing out of it. Don't grab their hand and close it and squeeze it and turn it over and put it down. And I have seen this done, and it looks really bad. Lastly, the magic wand. Magic wand is actually a very important thing. The reason the magic wand was invented was to help the magician conceal palmed objects. If you have something hidden in your hand, even if both hands look the same and they're resting on the table, still you're a little bit vulnerable. But if you have a magic wand in your hand, it just feels so much more natural. The action of holding the wand helps conceal the action of hiding something in your hand. One more thing I'd like to mention, and that is don't make your routines too long. Some routines, and I've been guilty of this myself, go on and on and on. Sometimes it's nice to just get to the point, get to the big finish, leave your audience wanting more. Well, in closing, I'd like to give you a few tips specific to sponge ball magic. One thing that you should know is do not store your sponge balls flat or crushed, because eventually they will lose their shape. This is not good. Keep them fully expanded. You might want to begin some of these techniques with smaller sized balls, like 1 inch or 1.5 inch, and then eventually progress to larger sized balls, because generally speaking, the largest balls that you can use comfortably, the better it is for your audience. To keep them clean, you wash them gently in warm, soapy water. Rinse them thoroughly and then let them air dry. You definitely want to get all the soap out of them before you let them dry. So rinse them under water, squeeze them over and over again until no more suds comes out, then let it air dry and they'll be as good as new. Soak dry sponges, and what happens is they'll increase in size for their maximum visibility. Dwayne Laughlin had a DVD called Clever Sponge Ball Magic, and he mentioned if you ever have problems with the sponge balls rolling off the table, you can always get candlestick holders, you can get napkin rings, any one of a number of things to help keep the balls in place on the table. And if you decide you don't want to carry napkin rings or candlestick holders just to keep your balls in place on the table, you could always use something other than balls. You can use sponge cubes like sponge dice. They have stars, they have different suits, diamonds, clubs, hearts, and spades. Go to your favorite magic shop and find out what other type of sponge props they have available. Here's a good tip. The spectator, when they open their hand to find that they've got 2 balls instead of 1, that is the climax of the trick. That's the most important moment. I always say, slowly and dramatically, open your hand and let's take a look inside. You don't really want the balls to fall off onto the table. You want all the attention on their hands. So sometimes I'll say, with both hands, slowly open your hands together. In fact, I'd even go so far as to say, oh, don't let them fall. Let them know that there's going to be more than 1 ball because you want all the attention on their hands when you get to the big moment. Finally, what do you do if you'd like to do sponge ball magic, but you just don't happen to have sponge balls? Well, I read in the Tarbell Course in Magic, Volume 1, it said, in an emergency, a torn paper napkin or a torn piece of tissue paper can be used instead of sponge balls. And that's a good thing to know. In fact, Ray Grismer had a routine called Spongy, and he mentions at the end that in an emergency you can use crumpled up dollar bills. So if you have a few dollar bills or some paper napkins, crumple them up into balls, put them in their pockets. You're always ready to do a quick sponge ball type routine. Well, there you have it. And remember, practice these things thoroughly, make sure they look natural, and before you know it, your magic tricks will look like real magic.